Hey guys, Riley Ringgold here over at Team Ringgold with Keller Williams. Wanted to talk with you a little bit about occupied rental real estate that you're selling. I had a guy text me out of the blue. We were talking 2 years ago or so about this property that he had. And at that time, we were talking about a decent sales price. But he texted me out of the blue, said, hey, me and my wife are ready to sell this property. We want $75,000. And so I confirmed with him. I said, okay, whenever we were talking last year, you had a tenant in there. Is the lease month to month or is it a long-term lease? And you told me at that time they were paying $680. You know, if he's selling this for $75,000, you would more likely want that rent to be closer to the 1% rule. You'd want that rent to be $750 versus the $680. I love real estate because you control it. So at any point, this is a month-to-month tenant. You could give them 30 days notice. If you're wanting to sell the house, you know, give them 30 days notice. Work on getting them out of there. Once they're out, going through and doing a little bit of work to the property, touching it up, and then putting it on the market for $75,000 or $80,000. I think that house holds the value of $75,000. I think it's worth that. But the problem being is if you've got a tenant in it, you're most likely going to be marketing it and selling it to investors. And investors don't necessarily only look at the value of the house. Sure, it's a $75,000 property, but as far as cash flow goes, even if you buy it outright at $75,000, you're only bringing in $680 a month. You take off insurance and taxes out of that for the year, you're only making a 7% cash-on-cash return in your first year. Usually, you know, whenever I'm looking at cash-on-cash return, I'm looking at 12 or 15%. To do a cash-on-cash return formula, you calculate your entire cash flow for the year and you divide that by the amount of capital you have invested. So in this instance, it'd be like $6,000 divided by $75,000 if you were going to buy it outright. And a 7% return isn't fantastic for cash on cash. And that's pretty close to ROI as well. But as an investor, whenever you're looking at that, you've got a tenant in it, so you're going to be selling it to investors. Somebody's going to want to pay at least $68,000 or $65,000 in order to get a good return on their investment. If not, then it's your option as the seller to make that property as marketable as you can. If you want to market it to investors, perfectly fine. Raise the rent to $750, get somebody new in there, make it performing at that price that you want, or make it vacant and we'll sell it to an owner occupied or even an investor at that point. Once you have a vacant, we open up the buyer pool to owner occupants as well as investors. Whereas if it's rented out and it's rented under what it should be rented at, makes it really hard to get a sale. Kind of word to the wise for you guys, if you're getting into rental real estate, or maybe you have a portfolio and you're seeing this video. Me and my wife, we try to keep our rents up, not only because the cash flow is nice, but because the values are going up. And we want our rents to be 1% of the value of the house. If there is, for some reason, we have an emergency and we've got to sell off one of the properties, we don't have to worry about giving 30 days notice to the tenant or breaking leases or waiting till leases end to sell those properties. We can just sell them as performing assets to another investor. Food for thought.